So, hello guys, and good morning. It's kind of the morning time here in Pakistan. I don't know what time it is, in your own respective countries. But, welcome. And let's start discussing another topic for today, which is diabetes insipidus, which is in my opinion, a very oftenly neglected topic, but it's also a topic of discussion because, this condition affects many over the globe, and not many decide to address it by going to the doctor, and they just simply keep on ignoring it until it becomes really serious. So, diabetes, is a word, in itself, and it doesn't necessarily mean that your body has elevated serum glucose levels. Whenever you hear the word diabetes, you shouldn't immediately jump to diabetes mellitus or diabetes insipidus. You should as a medical professional, keep your mind open and think that this word basically means excessive, as I've written here, excessive. Now, if it's diabetes mellitus, then it means excessive, presence of or elevated serum glucose levels. If it's diabetes insipidus, it means excessive excretion of fluids from the body in the form of urine, right? Now, this is the basic meaning of these two words. So, what is diabetes insipidus? Like, if someone asks you, hey, can you tell me the definition or something regarding diabetes insipidus, that can give me a clear understanding on this topic? Well, diabetes insipidus is basically a condition characterized by the inability of either the pituitary gland to synthesize and secrete adequate amounts of ADH, which is antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, or the kidney's inability to reabsorb fluids due to the ineffectiveness of ADH on its receptors on the collecting tubules. Now, normally what ADH does is that in response to states of dehydration, ADH is then released from the posterior pituitary, which is right here, right, which is where it's stored, into the bloodstream, and then from there on it travels to the kidneys, where it then acts upon the collecting tubules, goes to the kidneys. Wait, let me just draw a rough diagram here. So this is the kidney, for example, right? And this, let's magnify this nephron here, and we have the collecting ducts, right? So now there are certain renal tubular epithelial cells, right? And upon these cells lie the receptors for ADH, right? So ADH will act on these receptors, and the cells will, do something, and it will basically allow the exact mechanism of how ADH, upon acting upon the renal tubular cells, results in fluid reabsorption. But the underlying mechanism is that fluid and salts and all of those necessary constituents of the body fluids are reabsorbed right here from the collecting tubules in order to retain fluid, right? But in this condition, since ADH is not being synthesized and secreted in adequate amounts, for example, in central diabetes insipidus, then water reabsorption will not take place, and the patient will be able to lose water very rapidly from the body, which will then make the patient prone to becoming thirsty very easily, because he will become dehydrated very easily, because the body isn't able to reabsorb adequate amounts of fluid. And so therefore, this is an explanation for the two symptoms, polydipsia and polyuria. Polydipsia is basically a condition of excessive thirst. Because the patient gets dehydrated very easily, so and therefore, he has a tendency to drink more and more fluids as possible. And regardless of what type or what the nature of the fluid is, the patient will try to ingest as much fluid as possible. Any fluid that he can get his hands on, may it be juice, may it be a glass of water, milk, may it be, may it be honey, any kind of fluid that he can get his hands on, he will drink that because he has to quench his thirst somehow, somewhere. And polyuria is basically a consequence of polydipsia. Polydipsia encourages the patient to drink as much water as possible in a vain attempt to maintain normal body fluid volume. But nevertheless, since the body isn't able to reabsorb water, all that water will then be lost in urine, resulting in excessive urination, which is polyuria. So these are the two cardinal symptoms of diabetes insipidus, right? Now there are two types of diabetes insipidus, central and nephrogenic. Central means the brain. See, this is the brain. You take out the pituitary gland, you enlarge it, this is what you get. Normally we have the hypothalamus, we have the pituitary gland, and we have the pituitary stalk, we have the hypothalamo-hypophyseal circulation. Okay. In the hypothalamus we have two nuclei, paraventricular nuclei, supraoptic nuclei. Hypothalamus synthesizes CRH, which is the corticotropin releasing hormone, which stimulates the supraoptic nuclei to synthesize ADH. ADH then travels down the pituitary gland and also through the hypothalamo-hypophyseal circulation into the posterior pituitary, where it is stored in the nerve endings. Right? And whenever the body senses that the fluid volume is decreasing, then ADH will be secreted from the nerve endings into the arterioles that surround these nerve endings, resulting in the release of ADH. But this mechanism can be interrupted because of various conditions, like any hypothalamic lesion, trauma due to surgery, such as a craniopharyngioma. And a craniopharyngioma is basically a tumor that resides in between the pituitary gland and the Rathke's pouch, which is basically an embryological remnant. Craniopharyngiomas are the most common cranial, brain tumors in children, accounting for about more than 10% of all intracranial tumors in children. It may be due to a pituitary tumor that is compressing on the posterior pituitary, resulting in its hypopituitarism. The treatment of central diabetes insipidus would be to treat the underlying cause, whichever one of these three may be. And then ADH secretion can come back to normal, or if it can't, then supplementation can be advised. Nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, as the name suggests, means that there is a problem. It is diabetes insipidus due to a pathology within the kidneys, maybe due to renal failure, lithium toxicity, or inherited. I forgot to write the word inherited, or familial kidney disorder. Diagnosis. The best way or the best test to diagnose this condition is the water deprivation test. The water deprivation test is basically a test in which a patient is deprived of water for 8 hours. And then within these 8 hours, before the onset of 8 hours and after 8 hours, the patient's plasma and urine osmolality and urine concentration are measured. If the plasma osmolality decreases and urine osmolality increases, it means the patient does not have diabetes insipidus. But if the plasma osmolality increases, urine osmolality keeps on decreasing, the patient is polyuric, polydipsic, then it indicates that the patient is suffering from diabetes insipidus. The plasma osmolality in this condition is greater than 320 and urine osmolality is lesser than 100. Symptoms: we've already discussed. Treatment for central is desmopressin, which is a vasopressin analog, right? So if ADH isn't being synthesized and secreted in normal amounts, so we can give an ADH analog that can mimic its function and can compensate for its deficiency. But in case of nephrogenic diabetes insipidus, we can't give desmopressin because in this case the problem or pathology isn't within the pituitary gland, isn't the decreased or inadequate synthesis and secretion of ADH, but it's basically due to the unresponsiveness of the receptors to ADH within the kidneys. In that case, we will then just give thiazide diuretics in order to equalize sodium and water excretion in the body, because in diabetes insipidus more water is lost than sodium, resulting in increased plasma osmolality, resulting in mild hypernatremia, right? So in order to prevent this from happening, we need to give thiazide diuretics to equalize sodium and water excretion from the body. So guys, this was all about diabetes insipidus. I hope you got a clear understanding of the topic, somewhat clear understanding of the topic. And I hope we will meet again with another interesting topic to discuss, inshallah. Till then, adios amigos. Have a nice day and spend these holidays wisely in your home. Do whatever you want, enjoy, relax, recuperate, because the condition nowadays, the situation nowadays is really, really drastic. I hope you all stay safe. God bless you.